Hey everyone, it is great to see you all again. Are you looking for a lens filter but can't seem to figure out which one to get, let alone what each of them do? In the current market, there are so many options, some necessary and some more for artistic choice. It could be daunting, especially when you're just starting out. So in today's video, we are going to hone in on one of those options, one of which I believe to be one of, if not the most important lens filter you should have in your camera bag right now. I will teach you how they work and then stick around to the end where I show you how I took this photo in harsh midday light without an ND filter. I hope you all enjoy. My name is Jalen Oban. I'm a landscape photographer and educator based in the Pacific Northwest. I create weekly videos giving you photo tips or taking you with me on location to give you a behind the scenes look at what I do. If you enjoy the content, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a like and subscribe. Of course, the filter we are going to be focusing on today is a polarizing filter, more specifically a circular polarizer. Now, there are linear versions of this filter. However, I'm going to go over later exactly how they are not nearly as useful or practical as their variable counterparts. But before we jump too far ahead of ourselves, let's talk about exactly what lens filters are and then a purpose of a few types of them. A lens filter is an accessory that attaches to the front of your camera lens to alter the way light enters your lens. Filters can serve multiple purposes like protecting your lens glass, enhancing colors, reducing reflections, controlling exposure, and creating special effects. Some common types of filters include UV filters, which protect the lens and reduce ultraviolet light, neutral density or ND filters, which reduce the amount of light entering your lens, basically darkening down your scene. These are very popular for long exposure photography. Graduated ND filters, which reduce light in specific parts of your image. These are useful for balancing exposure in scenes with a bright sky and a dark foreground. There are also more artistic filters like color filters, which adjust or enhance colors for creative effects. But the one we are focusing on today are polarizing filters, often referred to as polarizers. These filters reduce glare and reflections from surfaces like water, glass, and shiny objects. It works by allowing light waves vibrating in a specific direction to pass through while blocking light waves vibrating in other directions. This filter can really help enhance contrast and color saturation, making skies bluer and foliage greener. It's very, very useful in landscape and automotive photography. Now, what is the point of this filter? Like I mentioned, these filters help cut out unwanted reflections in your scene, like this image, for example, where you can see the harsh reflections of light on the water. With a polarizer, you are able to cut right through those reflections to reveal what's underneath the water and cut out the harsh light on our foreground subject, the leaf. And this is the reason why I say polarizers are so important to have in your camera bag. It's because they produce a result that is almost impossible to recreate in post-production. Another way you're able to take advantage of this polarization effect is when you have haze in the air or clouds in the sky. Using the polarizer, you can cut right through the haze and add a beautiful contrast to the sky, making the sky a darker blue and the clouds stand out a little bit more. However, when you're using a polarizer, you want to make sure that you're not facing directly at or away from the sun. This will make it basically useless as it won't affect the scene at all. Having the sun at 90 degrees is going to give you the best and most dramatic effect when using the filter. Now, one thing you may have noticed throughout the entire video is that I'm able to show you the before and the after with the filter on my lens. This is because I'm using a circular polarizer. It essentially means that the effect of the filter is only applied to one half of it, meaning that you can adjust it to your liking just by rotating it while it's on your lens. This is great for situations where you may not want to cut out the entire reflection from your scene or just want to apply the effect to part of it. This also makes it much easier to see exactly what you're doing when you can just turn it off and on. And this is the biggest game changer between a circular and linear polarizer. With a linear polarizer, the effect is placed on 100% of your scene 100% of the time, and you can't adjust it. Being able to see what you're doing but also affect only certain parts of your scene is the biggest reason why the circular polarizer is so much more useful and practical than the linear polarizer. Alongside that, polarizers are incredibly useful and almost essential when doing any sort of automotive photography. Being able to cut out reflections on windows and sides of the vehicle you're shooting will give you the opportunity to capture images in busy environments. One thing to keep in mind when using a polarizer is that it's going to darken down your image by 1 to 2 stops when it's on your lens. This may make it difficult in low light situations, especially if you're using it handheld. However, you are able to use this to your advantage sometimes, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Another thing is not to overuse it. Sometimes having the reflections in your image can really enhance your scene. Like this image, for example, where cutting out the reflections of light on the rocks completely takes away all of the beautiful shape it had. Also be careful when shooting rainbows, as cutting out that light with the polarizer will take the rainbow with it. Now, do you need to break the bank when shopping for a polarizer filter? The answer is no and yes, and let me explain. While getting an incredibly high-end expensive filter set is going to set you up for taking great photos, also keep in mind that these are small tools that are prone to damage and also, let's call it, misplacement. Using a medium grade filter set is going to allow you to achieve results that you are really proud of. However, when searching for budget options, keep in mind that this is a piece of gear that's going to go in front of all of your precious camera gear. This has the potential to decrease the sharpness of your lens or create nasty, unwanted darkening of the edges of your photo. This is called vignetting and is most prominent at wider focal lengths, especially when using cheap filters. Also consider your ease of use. Do you want to buy a medium grade filter set for every one of your lenses, or would you rather buy one set for your largest diameter lens and then buy what are called step-up rings so you can use it on every lens? These step-up rings screw onto your lens like a filter but allows you to use larger filters for smaller diameter lenses. For example, with the correct step-up ring, you can use your 82mm lens filter on your 67mm lens. Or maybe you don't want to screw with your lens filters at all. Spending a little bit more money and going with something like the Case Magnetic filter set might be the best option for you. Weigh out your options, but really consider how much you're budgeting for something that's going to affect your camera gear and also your image quality. Now, knowing all you know, can you guess how I got this photo in harsh midday light without an ND filter? Well, the answer is that I used two polarizing filters stacked on top of each other to stop down the image as much as I could so I can get that long exposure effect I was after. I made sure that the polarization effect was off on both filters so I could retain the reflections and detail on the rocks as well. Of course, this was my own mistake because I did not have an ND filter at the time I was shooting. But I hope you all learned something from this week's video. If you didn't already know, I've created a Discord server for the entire community to come together, share photos, and give feedback. And then at the end of every month, I'll be selecting one of your photos to feature in the server as a monthly contest winner. Other than that, if you could subscribe to my weekly newsletter for weekly updates, and then for vlog, blog, and other video updates, if you could like and follow my Facebook page. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.